This is the Brian Kilmeade Show.
I've been a United States Marine, been a Special Forces Green Beret. I never met fear until I came to Ukraine.
Russian forces are closing churches and persecuting Christians.
The soldiers stopped worship service. They arrested me.
They destroyed hundreds church.
Євангельські, особливо церкви.
Russia is torturing and murdering Ukrainian Christians for their faith.
This is good versus evil.
I agree, and that's the name of the documentary, A Faith Under Siege, Russia's Hidden War on Ukraine's Christians. Joining us now, back with us in studio, Steve Moore, not the economist, the former chief of staff for the U.S. House of Representatives and founder of the Ukraine Freedom Project, which raises money to aid Ukrainians, and Anna Shvetsova, the chief operating officer for the Ukraine Freedom Project. Welcome to both of you. Welcome back, I should say.
Yeah, man, always great to be with you.
So first off, what are we going to see in this documentary?
Well, this is one of those stories that's just not getting out. And, there's 2.5 million Christians who are living in occupied Ukraine who can't go to church because Vladimir Putin has shut down every church in occupied Ukraine, not controlled by the Kremlin. And if you have a Bible study in your home, then that's punishable by 20 years.
How do they affect Ukraine?
Pardon me?
You're talking about in Ukraine?
Yeah, in occupied Ukraine, the Russians.
Occupied
Ukraine, yeah. So this is the Russians doing this. You hear a bit about Ukrainian Christians, but the real crime here is Vladimir Putin's torture and murder of Ukrainian Christians.
Right. So what could you tell us, Anna, about what I would see and how I would how my security might be hampered as a Christian in that occupied area?
Yeah, Brian. So I grew up 30 miles from the Russian border. I grew up speaking Russian, so I'm one of Ukrainians whom Vladimir Putin came to liberate. And now every day of my life, every minute of it, I devote to giving a voice to those 2.5 million Christians whom Vladimir Putin already liberated and who cannot go to church every Sunday like you and me can go because they can be imprisoned, they will be tortured, they can be killed. Vladimir Putin killed 47 faith leaders, Christian leaders. There are 630 churches that have been destroyed. And there is not a single Catholic priest left on the occupied Ukraine. People cannot worship God.
What's his problem with Catholics? What's his problem with Christians? Because doesn't he have a Russian Orthodox church?
The reasons why he's persecuting these people, because there is no higher power for them than God and Jesus Christ, and Putin wants people to worship the state, the Kremlin,
like a communist.
Yeah, he doesn't want the competition, So Christians, they have a God, they have someone they follow. It's Jesus, and Putin does not want the competition.
So. Why did you want to do this documentary? To explain to people that it's bad in Ukraine, but it's really bad for Christians?
Yeah. Well, there's some stories that we as conservatives know just don't get out. You don't know why. But this is a story of torture and persecution that's in a magnitude that is not like anything since the Soviet Union.
So I want you to hear a little bit more. Cut 43.
Sure.
Why does Russia hate evangelical Christians?
They're afraid. Our churches never want to be under government, under communistic party, under KGB, under dictatorship regime. Russia persecute evangelicals because we have just one leader, it's Jesus Christ.
And they don't want to hear that, right?
Yeah. And
so what do you say to people who say in your area you speak Russian and he's helping you by bringing you back to Russia where you belong, that you should never have been away from Russia?
We don't want to be with Russia. We have more in common. We have more values in common with America than with Russia and any other country. We value freedom more than anything else, including freedom of religion. Ukraine has the biggest freedom of religion in Europe. And it's separate from the state, and people can practice any religion they want in Ukraine. This is what we want to keep. Right. And Russia will never allow this.
When did you realize this, Steve Moore?
Well, I went to Ukraine on day 5 of the war to help because I don't like bullies, and Putin is a bully. And And so I was doing humanitarian aid work, and I met a guy who is a Christian. He was taking people out of occupied Luhansk in 2014, and the Russians grabbed him, pulled him out of his car, took him to the basement, which is a euphemism for torture. And they tortured him for 25 days, including one day when the Russian soldiers were tasing him with electricity, and a Russian Orthodox priest was standing over him, trying to cast demons out of him for being an evangelical Christian. I found this mind-blowing and something that nobody knew about. And then I heard other people say that Zelensky's persecuting Christians. And I live in Kyiv.
We do hear that here.
Yeah. Well, it's nonsense. And I'll tell you why. There's the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. It's a branch of the Russian Orthodox Church. The Russian Orthodox Church is a working arm of the Kremlin. The Russian Orthodox Church has declared a holy war on Ukraine and the West. Now, I don't know what happened to your church last Sunday, but mine, nobody declared a holy war. And so the Ukrainian Orthodox Church is a branch of the Russian Orthodox Church, and there's some really bad actors in there who are on trial for doing things like priests that have been targeting Russian artillery or housing Russian soldiers. And so it's a national security threat. It has nothing to do with religion.
So that's the perception that people keep saying, well, Zelensky is shutting down churches. Your thoughts?
No, he doesn't shut down the churches. So we want to separate. We have our independent church, which we got in 2018 only. And we have Ukrainian Orthodox Church. Most of people switched to this Ukrainian church.
Gotcha.
But those priests who report to Kremlin, they're committing crimes. They're national security threat, as Steven said. And the government gave them a warning to cut ties with Moscow, and they didn't do it. They didn't do any official steps to cut ties with Moscow. This is the only thing that we wanted them to do.
Right. So that's a huge issue. So what's the war like for you and your family?
They still live there 30 miles from the Russian border. This city was under siege for 6 weeks. It was really tough, but it didn't surrender. And now it's the city of heroes, as they call it in Ukraine, because they didn't let...
And that city is?
It's...
Name it. What is it?
It's in Sumy region.
Yeah, we don't want to...
For security
you don't?
reasons.
Yeah,
it's in Sumy region. It's between Sumy and Kharkiv. And the Iranian Shahed drones are flying over their roofs every night on their way to Kyiv, but people adjust to everything. They continue living their lives, growing vegetables. They have a big garden,
But Steve, they keep saying that they're trying to denazify Ukraine. That's what Vladimir Putin said yesterday at his big parade.
Yes. That's stunning, right? So Ukraine has a Jewish president. 70-something% of the people voted for him. They had a Jewish prime minister at one time. They've got a Muslim defense minister. So that's just utter nonsense. What that belief is, if anyone believes it in America, is that's the result of about $1.6 billion of the Russian propaganda that they're spending worldwide. And so Vladimir Putin is not a man of faith. He's not a Christian leader. He's not defending Christendom. He is killing families. He is killing Christians. Evangelical
stealing children.
Stealing children. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure that's a family value. There's nearly 20,000 children that the Ukrainian government has identified as being trafficked out of Ukraine by the Russians, and that's just a drop in the bucket because that's just the ones that I've identified. There's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Huge General Jackeen on the negotiations so far. Cut 40.
Their concessions are completely unreasonable. They want Zelensky out of power. They want the Constitution to change. They want to demilitarize Ukraine's military, and they want to get territory that they're not occupying. All of that is very tough, and that's what the ploy here is, to try to get those concessions, or some of them, before some kind of a peace agreement. But in terms of Putin and where you started from, He's playing hardball here, and I really think it's about time for the administration to take the gloves off and start dealing with him very toughly in terms of crippling sanctions and increased military assistance to Ukraine.
I guess you agree with that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. What would be the biggest beneficiary? What do you think? Where are they getting their weapons? The Russians, are they making them themselves? Are they getting from Iran, from China?
They purchased
about $4 billion of Iranian drones. So Iranians have a suicide drone, kamikaze drone called a Shahed, and they're using them against Israel. But they've sent about 15,000 of these things to Russia. Russia then sends them past our apartment building in Kyiv and hits civilian targets. And they're using that data to improve these drones and improve Iran's weapons so they can be used against Israel.
Right. But I understand Ukraine is starting to manufacture their own drones, making their own drones, like their own weapons, right?
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, people are looking for the benefit of the U.S. investment in this war. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of it. There's three countries that are leading the world in drone warfare. It's Russia, China, and Ukraine, and Iran. So there's four. And you'll notice that only one of those guys is on our side, and we don't have the type of weapons that are as effective as the Ukrainian weapons. So the technology transfer we're getting from this war and learning how our adversaries use drones is incalculable.
How is the U.S. viewed right now over there, Anna?
We love America. We have American friends who were coming to Ukraine after the situation in Oval Office, and they were asking us this question, like, what is the perception? Is it safe to come to Ukraine? Americans are heroes, regardless of what politicians are doing. Like normal people, Americans, they will be welcomed. We thank you every time we see any American in Ukraine for coming there, for being with us, for supporting us. It means a lot to us.
What about seeing St. Peter's Basilica, Zelensky and Trump one-on-one? What did that do for the morale of the Ukrainians?
It feels great. America is our biggest ally in this war. We want, without America, my parents would not be alive now. We might not have the country by now. So, have you seen our government building good relations with America again?
Right.
It feels good, and the morale is much higher now.
And Steve, I heard good things came out of that meeting, and now they're talking regularly, Zelensky and Trump.
Yeah, that is really great news. And I think President Trump has been super patient with Putin, and I think he's working really hard. But, there's carrots and sticks in negotiations, and Putin is just being disrespectful to President Trump. And
there's no question.
Yeah,
and he's embarrassing him, and Trump knows that. That's the worst thing you could do to him.
Oh, yeah. That's the best way to make a friend out of Zelensky is to have Putin, treat him like he's treating President Trump. And so
here's what General Keane said about Ukraine, Cup 41.
Ukraine, on the other hand, has totally agreed to a comprehensive ceasefire, stop in place the territory that's being occupied, separate the forces. They've agreed to all of that. And I think that's very reasonable on their part. The good news, too, this week, obviously, is the mineral deal that was signed and the political and economic and also security implications that generational deal has for Ukraine.
Wow. So go out and check out the documentary from Anna and Steve. It's called Faith Under Siege, Russia's Hidden War on Ukraine's Christians. Is there a sense, Anna, before I let you go, that this could be coming to an end soon, one way or another? Do people want to? Would there be a willingness to stop, even if you don't get your land back?
There is mistake that people think that Ukrainians want to fight. We don't want to fight. We just don't want Russians to kill us. And we have to defend ourselves. If there is a way to stop this war without us fighting in any way so that Putin didn't just pause the war, took 2 years to regroup and didn't invade again, we will be open to do this. But we need to remember that this is not the war over territories. There are 3.5 million people under occupation. 2.5 million of them are Christians who can die any minute for praising God. And there are more than 20,000 children who were abducted, and we want them back. So this is not about territories. This is about people.
I hear you. And Steve, final thought?
Yeah, I think that we're at a pivot point. I think Trump is talking about Putin asking for too much. J.D. Vance, who has always been very adamantly against Ukraine, is saying that Putin wants too much. And I think our film right now is an opportunity for your audience and American believers to understand what's at stake. And it's not a war over territory. It's a spiritual war. You know, this is Russia attacking Ukraine's Christians. There's a holy war being declared on this.
Where do we get this documentary?
Well, so you can go to faithundersiege.com. It's going to be widely distributed a little bit later this month, and you will hear about it soon.
It will air on CBN.
You can say, okay, CBN is fine. Christian Broadcasting.
Yeah, CBN tomorrow, and they're going to show it 6 times over the weekend.
Nice.
So it's great. It's really, we got a really solid group of partners, and hopefully we can show it on Fox sometime.
Absolutely. Steve Moore, Anna Shvetsova, thanks so much for joining us. Congratulations on Faith Under Siege.
Thank you, Brian.
And just win, okay?
Thanks, man.
Back in a moment.